Don't forget, our annual show is April 1st, Saturday, one-day show. John, you have something to say?
I'm going to give you my annual pitch. We need help for the show as usual. The setting up and breaking down. We're going to set up the show starting about noontime on Friday, March 31st. We need as many able-bodied people as possible to give us a hand setting the tables up. The show itself will open up to the dealers around 4 o'clock. If you give us a hand setting up the show, you'll get a free pass into the show. That'll give you access into the show on Friday night when the dealers are there, first shot at anything that's out. We also need people to hang around at the end of the show on Saturday. At about 5 o'clock, we can start breaking it down and stacking the tables. We've got over 275 tables sold for the show. The show sold out in less than 9 days, which is a record for us. We've got about 150 dealers. We've got a number of prime people going to be there, a lot of nice items, I suppose. So make it a point to try to make the show. April 1st, it's a Saturday. The show will run from 9 o'clock until 5 in the afternoon. Again, it's at Kina Shrine Temple down the block here. So as I say, give us a hand if you can in helping set the show up, and also put it on your agenda to make the show on Saturday. Thanks a lot.
All right, Don London has an announcement about the picnic.
Well, the board has decided that we got together last week, and the picnic this year is going to be in June 25th. Unfortunately, we just found out that that's the same time as the Bull Run Jamboree. So, get there early, I guess. That's right. What I would like to ask is the usual volunteers if we can get some more club participation in cleaning up the area and some people to help bury. That's always a last minute thing, but I appreciate your help. 5 or 6, that's right. Also, you all know that the relics are kind of expensive. And every year I've been asking for bullets or bits and pieces of buttons. This year I'm asking for anything that you can give up. If each one of you bring 10 bullets, that'll mean that'll be less money spent on bullets by the club. So I'd rather buy good relics. So if you can spare 10 Yankee 3-ringers or whatever you would like to help in your picnic and your hunt, I'd appreciate it.
You're going to put a container in the back?
Yeah, I was going to do it this month, but I'm really busy at work. But if you can remember, and Chuck's going to put a reminder in the newsletter, begging, via me. Thank you.
If anybody has any plates, Confederate or Yankee didn't like to donate, run them by me first. Yeah, old muskets, anything. Any good finds this month? Got a good crowd. I know it's been nice the last couple weeks. Mike? Oh, I thought you had something good. I should have known better.
Yeah. For those of you who know Kent Lang, he fell about 3 weeks ago and broke his leg. They put 4 screws in his leg, so he's going to be out for a while. If you want to send him a card or anything like that, see me after the meeting and I'll give you his address.
Mike, see me and let me get it.
That's fine, whatever you want to do. So, because like I said, he's fell and he's going to be messed up for a while. They got to walk him with a walker right now.
Mike pushed him.
Yeah.
Also, if we have a new member, John Craig had a boy the other day, so Mr. Craig is a grandfather to a boy for the first time. You know that John didn't show up. Too many cigars to get out again.
My green book's out there somewhere, so.
All right, if anybody's found the green sign-up book for relic finds of the
You
month.
had a hand in an old frame of good stuff. Get him to stand up and tell you what he got, wherever he be. He's in the bar. Oh, it's in the bar.
If you have... Well, out looking for apparitions. Found a bunch of good stuff. You got some good stuff? Psycho? Psycho.
All dug in Alexandria. What is it, Dog Tag, Reed? What street was that? Reed, Florence Lane, Telegraph Road, Kings Highway, name it.
Somebody from the city called a little bit ago. All right.
Fort Ward, Manassas Park.
That's enough. If anybody else...
I'd like to thank you diggers in this club for leaving these things.
What's the unit on the dog tag?
It's Company G, 15th New York Artillery.
15 years.
Abraham Lincoln, 1861. Laying, just laying right on top of the ground, right in the middle of the map. Right smack dab in the middle of the map, right outside of
you have anything else, get the newsletter. Other than that, I will turn over the podium to longtime friend of relic hunters, Jimmy Wilson from Rebel Coin.
All I've got tonight is a group of pictures, thanks to Rick.
You like, I hear you back here.
Don't sense you, this work, okay. About 15 years ago, I traded Rick Hudak something for a camera. And for that reason, we'll be seeing pictures I've been taking for the last, for 15 years, maybe 17 years. People will come by my store in Manassas, and if it's interesting and I have film in the camera, I'll run out and take pictures on the hoods of cars, wherever it's appropriate. But I probably have 500 or 600 pictures of some of the finest relics dug in Northern Virginia. I've taken them in color, so these were converted to slides, possibly, I don't know, last time these were shown was about 10 or 11 years ago here. So I found the slides on the back of my desk. Kevin Ambrose called me and asked me if I could get something together. Didn't have enough time to make new slides, so I found the old slides. I even found the old notes. In many cases, I did not record who dug them, and I think it's somewhat of an insult to ask the man where he dug his item. I've always found it inappropriate to ask another relic hunter. Well, being a digger myself, I find it offensive in a way to ask another relic hunter where he's been digging, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Consequently, in many of these pictures, I really don't know where they were dug. And it's none of my business. It's his place. He found it. He worked for it. And that's the way it should be. I might, as we progress tonight, mention a few things about cleaning relics, because I've made a lot of mistakes myself. Years ago, more so than lately, but based on the kind of metal you're working with, the gilt, whether it's plated or it's not plated, the acidity, different aspects of both the relic and conditions of the metal itself. But I've seen so many relics destroyed by having been cleaned the wrong way, and I've done it myself, don't get me wrong, but as times go by, you learn a little bit, and if I mention something about a particular relic up on the screen, it will generally be in reference to how I would have cleaned it had I dug it. But nothing in the relics that you'll see tonight, I didn't dig a single one of them. A lot of the members here tonight dug them, but as we progress, there's about 36 pictures, and I hope none of them are upside down. Rick Martin put them in the slide projector, so blame him if they're upside down. Thank you, Rick. Okay, we can progress, I guess, with picture or slide number 1. I'm going to have to go from memory, okay, because I can't see anything on my desk. So, obviously, an early militia plate that has been through hell, but did survive, possibly from a plowed field. Terry dug this. Well, we know about when I took that picture, so I apologize. It wasn't that long ago. Even when a relic is crimped and twisted and bent, sometimes as the years pass by and you've straightened it shortly after you bought it, there's something real nice about the natural appearance, and you can never get it back if you hurriedly twist it out and be in a rush, clean it the wrong way. But this is the way it was when it walked in, and I don't know what he's done with it since.
Doctor's done.
Yeah. Okay, next. Next picture. All right, stencils come out of the ground occasionally. You don't see them that often, but when you do, quite often there's portions of the letters missing, the numbers, and it's quite difficult to tell what the name is. If you ever dig one of these, you want to handle it with care, isolate it from your other relics, because just bumping one of the pieces of metal is going to make it, you're going to be incapable of identifying the soldier or his company, his regiment, and possibility of never knowing who it belonged to. This one obviously came out in fantastic condition, although there's a little bend there. I think that's a Maine to the left and a Georgia to the right. Buttons made previous to the war, and both of those were made previous to the war by their faces. You can be relatively sure if you clean them in a mild detergent that you're not going to damage the button. Chuck Thompson likes to lick his buttons to see if they got any gold on them. And to be quite honest, it's a good way to progress to your second step. In the late 60s and early 70s, we found Top Job, that detergent, to be quite effective in doing the job. Of course, buttons out of fertilized fields and pine woods sometimes have the ugly gray marks, and over a period of time, I think the best way is to first use Top Job and then proceed with like a Q-tip with lemon juice on the bad areas. And then you take after you give them about 2 minutes of saturated liquids in the places where the gray might be, I've been taking wooden toothpicks with just very soft ends and going back and forth across the areas where this crustacean might be. And you can pop off the little areas of gray when they're ready to release. But you do not force them off, because if you force them off, you're going to take some of the gold with you. So, in a nutshell, Top Job first, and if you have to go with lemon juice, which is a little bit stronger, but quite forgiving, using a small toothpick, you can pretty much get that gray off a button that you sometimes will dig in fields and pine woods. Okay, next one.
Jimmy?
Yes.
On a scale of cleaning, where does Chuck's tongue fit in on that?
It's a very weak acid, I guess. This is Billy McGuinn in his goofy little way on the right, Art Keene and Steve Chapin. And I think this is a picture was taken, we went back to Fairfax Station to say goodbye, because it was being developed and there was no tomorrow, and it's a sad day when the camps are developed like the 10th Maine recently, and it really makes you appreciate the places, even if the picking's thin. It's just no place like those places you took for granted for so many years. But that's Fairfax Station. I've seen them about 1990. This is a bit unusual. Let's see, Sam Salem. I didn't get the date, but it was probably 90. Now, you by appearance, you would assume that these have been cleaned. And my eyes were I was somewhat startled when I saw these, but this is the typical appearance of a plate that comes out of the Potomac in the brackish waters of Aquia. When it's found in the tide waters, like in the mud and the goop, for some reason you do not have a patina, a rich brown or patina that builds on the face. You pull them out and they look like just as shiny as gold. Not a reflective gold, but a very soft gold. And those were dug probably in tide water. I don't know what area, but somewhere, say Fredericksburg north, up the river, into the tide water area, but not below Wilson Bridge, somewhere through there. Next one. This is the back of a plate. Steve Pittman found this. it was nice to see it, but for years, I had never been convinced that the CSA rectangulars were, I never felt comfortable because I had not seen one come out of the ground. In a way, I guess I'm very doubtful unless it comes from the ground, although I'm convinced now they do exist, and I was convinced even beforehand, but it's reassuring to see items that you see in so many reference books finally come out of the ground. This was found, I believe, closer west of Manassas, quite a few miles, I'd say, if I had to guess, 20 or 30, but it's a buckle that's not typically found in the counties, say, in a circumference of 20 miles of Manassas. But this is the way he found it. It was beautiful. The minute I put my eyes on it, I knew it was good. There was no doubt about it. So I flipped it over, and I think we'll see the front of the next picture. Picture was not too great. Of course, I'm not a professional photographer, but it was the first CSA that I had seen dug by a local boy that was good as gold. And it was reassuring to see something that I hadn't seen found in this area. And it took quite a few years, let's see, since I opened in '69, I guess about 1990. So it was quite a while. Now that's typical, if I had to guess, either got it in the pine woods or a field, because it looks like it's subjected to either fertilizers or some mean pine, but I haven't seen it, I don't believe, since the day he brought it in. Yeah. Next picture. Good old Kevin, Mr. Success. These are some beautiful Virginias typically found in various camps in Northern Virginia. There's so many different Virginias that there's probably new ones. I wouldn't be surprised if there's 2 or 3 ones that are unlisted found each year. The upper left is, of course, silver-plated. The others, the lower left may never have been gilded. So just because a button doesn't have gold doesn't mean that it ever had gold. Most of the buttons that you dig, believe it or not, the gold that was lost was not lost because of ground conditions. It was lost due to wear. Just like anything else, the high points are going to lose their gold first. Then the button is lost. Then the ground reacts on the brass. The gold protects the rest of the button. And providing you clean it right, it's going to look mighty fine. Next. This is a smattering of buttons that Terry was successful in digging. I believe the one in the upper right is a local, South Carolina, made in the South during the war. Probably never gold-plated or silver-plated. If you ever dig a button and it appears to be a local, you don't want to put it in a chemical cleaner like we've been talking about. The gold, in many cases, will release itself from the button, and by the time you've attempted to save your button in the gilt or the silver plating, it's too late. For some reason, there's 3 or 4 ways that they were able to plate the buttons, different ways. But the Southern button makers during the wars, their methods may have been a little bit different. And buttons with gilt are found quite often, locals, but you got to be careful. If you ever dig one, just take it down to a creek, hold it by its edge, and swish it in the water. You can think about proceeding later, because too much detergent is going to free the gold and it's going to fall away from the button. The other South Carolinas, the Georgia, and the Yankee staff are all probably made in the North by professional button makers. Their methods of adhering the gold to the button were more advanced, and they tend to retain it even with detergents. It's hard to break away. The railroad, by the way, I have a reference in my store that lists all railroads, their abbreviations, the miles of track, who they were connected with, that was loaned to me. So if you've got anything that's railroad related by initials, there's a good chance you can find out where that track ran from when they were in business. and how many miles of track they had, and who bought them and what years they operated.
What's the feather?
You know, I don't remember, but it was silver, I believe. I'm just going from memory. It was silver. It was Doug. Terry, you're here, right? Terry.
Nobody seems to know what that is.
Okay. But I think it was silver, plated, or it might even have been solid, but nobody knows what it is.
Solid silver.
Solid silver. That's what I thought. I remember that. Next picture. This is my digging buddy for many years. I don't know why I called him Boski. But Ronnie dug this, Fairfax County. It's a typical Georgia frame that you see dug quite often. It just average hand filed. No two are quite exactly alike, but many do have conformed to varieties where you can probably find 20 or 30 different if you really attempted to put a collection together. Next one. This is the face of a dog tag that was dug by Posey Howell's son near Manassas, I guess 6 years ago. The boy brought it in and sold it to me. It was very interesting. I sold it to Nicky Harris a short time later. The father came in and asked me if I'd sell it to him or if I had it. He was upset. But to make a long story short, the father, shortly after it having been done, wrote, we can go to the backside and see what it looks like. Richmond, he wrote the city of Richmond, Michigan, asking about this individual, if they had any records on him. The town fathers got all excited, wrote back to Posey, offering him a trip to, this is the way I remember it, I might have it a little bit wrong, but offering him room and board. They'd like him to bring it up to Richmond, Michigan so that people could see it. He then was able, I told Posey where the dog tag was. He went down and Nicky was nice enough to sell it back to him. So it all worked out real nice. The boy's still an avid digger, probably in Culpeper County, but the father had been doing the research unbeknownst to the son. Next one.
Red.
I can't see. Go back.
7th Michigan.
7th Michigan. This is Ricky Visner, the son of the famous Harry Visner, the most successful relic hunter in Manassas through the 60s and 70s. He found this Virginia, I think the back mark, I had it written down, but I can't see in my notes, was fine quality. It's a one piece. It survived in fabulous condition. Obviously, it didn't see a lot of wear. The gold missing was not because of the ground action, because of use. But it's a beautiful Virginia one piece, coat size. Here's a couple CS tongues that you see quite often. Normally these are found south of Manassas. Between Manassas and Washington, D.C., I don't think I've ever seen one dug. You're more likely to find, if you're lucky enough to find a state plate, you're more apt to find a state militia piece than you would a CS tongue, because it seems as though they didn't get these. Well, you don't really find a lot of cavalry between Washington and Manassas. But south of Manassas, into the 62 and 3 campsites, the later portions, the mid portions to the later portions of the war, these do come out in right good numbers in Confederate cavalry camps.
Jimmy?
Yes, sir.
One of those was found in the defenses of Washington.
Yeah.
Behind the forts.
Okay. I know there's exceptions to the rule, and I wouldn't doubt it. Can you see the name? Richard Duval. He's a friend of mine, lives in Manassas. He dug this Ohio breastplate. Prince William County. It's been beat around a little bit, but it fit just nice in my collection. And he's still an avid digger. Next. I don't remember Bruce, but obviously he let me photograph this. I can't see the man's last name. I might have had it written down on my paper, but it's just a typical, real nice dog tag. Whenever you clean the dog tags, you gotta be a little bit careful because you have the potential. I would not clean a dog tag in the traditional methods that we talked about using those chemicals. The reason is I'm not entirely sure that it's copper or brass, brass. And if in fact it is copper, you can burn it, or you can cause it to become even more porous and lose your ability to see the letters. So be very careful. Also, the gold tends to release sometimes because once it breaks away, it's not quite like a button. You want to protect the letters the best you can, and I would approach it as if it was copper, which will be a more sensitive metal, and you can't use traditional chemicals on copper without damaging the metal. And I don't know how to do it. I want to make that perfectly clear. But until you learn the proper method to attack the grit or the grind on copper, you just put it aside and don't do anything because you can only go downhill. Next. Okay, I had a man from Great Falls, Virginia, come into my store one day, and he had 7 shells, and I photographed this one, but what was interesting, they were found on his grandfather's farm. Now, I've never checked any of the old maps, and of course, Great Falls is all developed now, but he found a variety of shells on the Virginia side of Great Falls, on a Jackson farm. If you ever get bored on a rainy day and see an old map, you can kind of get an idea of where they were found. But he was a descendant of the Jackson family. Next one. Joe Talbert of Manassas, Douglas, Maryland. I hadn't seen one or two. Scarcity-wise, I would say it rates with the top of the Yankee Sabre belt plates, state plates. The end was bent around. I think it was repaired, but this was darn near a perfect plate. But it was a beautiful thing, and it was nice to see something other than a Sabre belt plate walk in the store. On the last 2 pages of Stanley Phillips' Excavated Relic book, the first edition, I believe, there's an advertisement. He's got advertisements that he copied from newspapers selling ID pins. And this company is one of the ones listed in the advertisement